Hi, good morning. Please take your seats. I see some of you actually read my email and figured out what I actually meant in spite of what I said. So thank you. Welcome on this beginning of Daylight Saving Time to Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. I am Mary Marie Shelton, the community spiritual leader here. And whether you're online, in the room, or just now waking up and realizing that you're missing everything here, welcome. We're glad you're here this morning. We are a place that holds the presence of spirit and our connection with that as one of the most important things in our lives. And we welcome you into that. Whoever you are, wherever you may be on your pathway of faith, you're very welcome here. So let's take a few minutes to say hi to each other. So I want to invite you now to stand up and walk around, greet your neighbors, congratulate them for making it here this morning, introduce yourselves. And for those of you online, go fill up your coffee, give yourselves a hug, and give us just a few moments. We'll be right back with you with our opening song. Morning. All right. Oops. Well, I want to let you know that we're using the old projector this morning, so our slides are going to be on the dark side and a little fuzzy. The rear projector has a burnt-out bulb, and so that should be working fine next week. But this morning we're using the old one, so we'll probably turn all the lights off on you for a while so that you can see them better. But you will be able to see and hear the musician, so I want to tell you about her. So Faith Rivera is a first-generation Filipina who lives in Hawaii. She is a Posey Award winner, a Grace Note Award recipient, and her songs have been heard, and her voice, from NCIS Hawaii to The Voice. She's been featured at the Hollywood Bowl and the House of Blues, and on stages from Tokyo to Rome, where audiences of all ages have been engaged and energized by her upbeat messages, music, and dance. Let's see, she's an award-winning singer-songwriter, and she jumped in at the last moment because Harold Payne, who was going to be doing music for us this morning, came down with a bad cold and couldn't record anything, and so he asked Faith to do it, and she hopped in. Bless her heart. So please stand and join us this morning. She is singing one of Harold's songs that we know. We have sung it several times before, called Something Wonderful.
Aloha and good morning all the way from Hawaii. I am so happy to be here with you this morning. So let's start by lifting up our voices and just knowing that really something wonderful is happening right here, right now with me and you, okay? So here we go. It goes like this. Something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. Sing with me. Something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. Yeah, sing to your neighbor. Something wonderful, something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now. Yeah, follow after me here. I can feel it in my body, I can feel it in my soul, I can feel it in my heart, and and it won't let go. Let's do it again. I can feel it in my body, I can feel it in my soul, I can feel it in my heart, and it won't let go. Something wonderful, yeah, something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now, yeah. Oh, we sing something wonderful, ooh, something wonderful is happening to me right here, right now, yeah. I can feel it, I can feel it in my body, feel it in my body. I can feel it in my soul, I can feel it in my heart, and it won't let go. I can feel it in my body, I can feel it in my soul, I can feel it in my heart, and it won't let go. Let's sing something wonderful, ooh, something wonderful is happening through me right here, right now, yeah. So through me, something wonderful, oh, oh, something wonderful is happening through me right here, right now, yeah. Oh, all this love inside, we can let it shine. Something wonderful, come on, something wonderful is happening through me right here, right now. Come on, something wonderful, oh, oh, something wonderful is happening through me right here, right now. Something wonderful. Ooh, yeah.
Working okay? Okay. Turning within and just taking a deep breath, realizing that this is the breath of life. So I bring my full recognition to the one infinite life, the magnificent all in all, the mighty I am presence, that this one is the unifying thread through everything, visible and invisible. It is the omnipotent power which creates out of itself and continues to recreate through everything, through every thought, through every condition. And that each one here is a unique, individualized expression of the infinite life. Each one is a vessel for the inlet and the outlet of all the power and all the presence of the infinite life. And this uniqueness within each one is always seeking greater expression, is always being called forth to more life. So I speak my word for each one, and I claim an opening in consciousness for a deep and resonant realization that the life within is part of the rhythm of the universe, that there is no separation, and that each one may relax into the deep, quiet voice of the stillness. Be still and know and listen for divine guidance. And at the core of each one is divine love. Love is the power that creates and that eliminates anything unlike itself and that heals. And aligning with this love is absolute aligning with the greater good. And the result of this is absolute fulfillment and oneness. Unity consciousness reflecting through every condition in every place and in every plane. This is the divine inheritance of each one. And I celebrate this truth of being for each one right now. And I give thanksgiving for the opening that takes place in consciousness and which allows each one to experience wholeness and oneness in every place and in every condition. And I release my word now to the law of mind, which accepts my word as a brand new creation, glimmering and shimmering through each one for their highest and best. And so it is. Amen.
This is a song of mine called A Child of This Universe. It's a song I wrote to remind myself who I am. And that's a beautiful expression of the divine. And that's what you are too. I am a child of this universe. The ocean dances at my feet. The wind plays a melody through my hair. I am loved at every turn. I am kissed by Mother Earth. Yes, I am a child of this universe. The sun warms me in its embrace. The stars have aligned for me in the sky. I am honored by all life. I am held by Father Time. Every blade of grass, every shaking leaf on a tree, every mountain top sings of the glory of God moving through me. Oh, yes, I am a child of this universe. Through my breath, all of life can breathe. I plant the seeds with my every dream. I can love at every turn. Give a kiss to Mother Earth, yes. Yes, I am a child of this universe. I greet the God in each face. I am the channel for peace to flow. Oh, I honor all alive. Yes, I'm one with Father Time. To every to every mountain top. It sings of the glory of God moving through all, moving as me, moving as you. Oh, moving as old.
Here we go. So this is clearly a fun ride today. We don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes the universe plays little tricks on you to see if you're actually awake. And I guess we're waking up. We're waking up. So we want to say thank you to Faith Rivera as we move into our March theme. You know, this year is Living Out Loud, and so our March theme is Letting the Real Me Shine. Letting the real me shine. One of the things that people talk about who feel that it's necessary to hide themselves is what they long for is to be able to be authentically themselves. But they aren't doing that because they don't dare be seen. Now, there are sometimes good reasons not to dare to be seen. When my son was in the youth group in Southern California, and I've mentioned this before, we had a lot of kids in that group that were at risk. And so there are two counselors, there are two advisors for the youth group, taught them one day about the difference between being a swan and being a duck. And what they said was, you are swans. This is good. But there are times in your life when it's more appropriate to become a duck. If you get pulled over by the police, you need to be a duck. You need to follow directions, you need to stay in line, you need to do exactly everything by the book. Because some of these kids really needed to learn that. So there are times when, for safety reasons or something else, we may choose not to be completely seen. But sometimes it becomes built into our personalities or built into our way of interacting with the world that our caution and our fear become the top thing that's running everything. And we don't want to open ourselves up to vulnerability. Here's a story about that. Fellow says, we were dressed and ready to go out for our New Year's Eve party. We left a few lights on in the house, covered the parakeet in his cage, and put our cat in the backyard, and then we texted Lyft for a ride. But when our Lyft driver arrived and we opened the front door to leave the house, our cat scooted back inside. We didn't want to leave her in the house, and she tries to eat the bird. So while my wife went out to the car, I went inside again to get the cat and put her back out. And my wife didn't want the driver to know that our house would be empty for the entire evening. So she told him, he's just going upstairs to say goodnight to my mother. A few minutes later, I came out to get in the car, still annoyed with our cat. Sorry I took so long, I said to my wife as we pulled away. That darned old girl was hiding under the bed. I had to poke her with a coat hanger to get her to come out. She tried to slip around me, but I managed to grab her by the neck, and then I had to wrap her in a blanket to keep her from scratching me. But it worked. I got her down the stairs and tossed her out in the backyard. Our Lyft driver drove off the road and knocked over the neighbor's mailbox. Sometimes we don't want the truth out there because we're scared. We're nervous about what it might mean if we were seen. And so we hide some part of ourselves. Now, I want to distinguish that from the different roles that we play in our lives, because sometimes it's appropriate to bring forward certain of our characteristics in a particular role and not in others. So if you're a manager at work, and you're in charge of a lot of people and a lot of projects and a lot of things, and you have to be very orderly and very sharp with people to get everything done, that's probably not going to work well at home with your family. So different modes, different roles require different behavior, different choices, different activities. You with me so far? Yes? But, see, there's a point at which that becomes a drain on us, it becomes negative, and that is when we're putting on some aspect of ourselves and keeping others under wraps all the time with everybody. And we do that, we hide, mostly because we're afraid. We're afraid of rejection. We're afraid of being embarrassed, maybe. We're afraid of other people's judgment. We hide from other people sometimes what we're also hiding from ourselves, with or without our awareness. Hello? Is it God calling? We also have a little fear of our own dark side. And so sometimes we don't want to look at that. And we certainly don't want other people to look at that. Unfortunately, with something like that, it often sneaks out, you know? So I was experiencing some of my dark side this morning when our projector wasn't working. And then this one worked for 10 minutes and then stopped working. And we thought we were going to have no slides. And I was definitely a little grumpy. Definitely a little grumpy. So I want to thank Dana and Rick and William and Bruce and Frank, who all helped, you know, pull it together so that we could do that. Yeah, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. And for putting up with my snippiness as well. We also are afraid that we might endanger ourselves sometimes by letting all of ourselves out. And let it all hang out isn't always the best advice. So we're trying to monitor those times and figure out what me is really called for here and where am I able to completely be myself. In the book of Matthew, supposedly Jesus said, "No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under the bushel basket, but on the lampstand, so it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven." But what if your particular religion is one that could get you killed? What if your particular faith is one that isn't popular where you live? Then what? How do you let that light shine? And if you do let that light shine, do people take from it being lifted up by your good works, or are there other things they're focused on? So, you know, we have some fears that are probably overblown, but we also have some that are kind of realistic about being safe and taking care of ourselves. Craig Lonsborough, who's a retired counselor, said, "We wear masks not to be something different, but to deny the something different that we are without the mask." So when we're covering something, it is to blend in better, to fit in more, to be more maybe comfortable, maybe more safe, whatever. Sabatair wrote, "In An Ember in the Ashes, most people are nothing but glimmers in the great darkness of time. But you are no swift burning spark. You are a torch against the night, if you dare to let yourself burn." So we're moving from that place to wanting to enter into an experience of feeling welcome and safe and loved. Now, when we're kids, if we're lucky, if we're in a kind of family that allows us to know that and supports that, then we may feel that when we're very small, when we're connected to our parents and our families, that they love us unconditionally and they will continue to love us unconditionally. But most of us have families that love us conditionally because they knew us when we were little and obnoxious, you know? And so in shaping us, they come to know what our strengths and weaknesses are and to try and guide us out of our weaknesses, and we become aware that not everything we are is acceptable. right? Can you remember this at all in your childhood? Like, no. I have one cat, I keep telling her no, but she does things when I'm not looking. Then I catch her, and tell her no. But as Amanda says, she's just going to go back up there when you're not there. And it's true. This is a story from Fernando Pessoa. A man afflicted by extreme shyness, one day while wearing a mask, told another mask all the most personal, most secret, most unthinkable things that could be told about his life. And since no outward detail would give him away, he, having disguised even his voice, and since he didn't take careful note of whoever had listened to him, he could enjoy the ample sensation of knowing that somewhere in the world there was someone who knew him as not even his closest and finest friend did. When he walked down the street, he would ask himself if this person or that one over there might be the one to whom he'd once, wearing a mask, told his most private life. Thus would be born in him a new interest in each person, since each person might be his only known confidant. We long for that place in the world where we can feel known. I have exercises I do in some of my workshops where we disclose to another person how we felt, what we thought, what we did, and what we made of a particular event in our lives without ever telling the other person what the event was. And what people discover in that is they're much freer to discuss what they thought, what they said, what they did, and how they felt and how they interpreted it when they know the other person doesn't have the details of the story to judge them by. And sometimes it frees the listener from feeling they need to solve the problem because they don't know what it was. And so they're actually listening just to what's being said and allowing themselves to take that in. Walt Whitman said, "Residing behind each mask is a kindred soul." And I think that's really the truth, that if we actually were looking carefully at one another, we would realize that when we drop all of our defensiveness and all of our fear, and we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and to want the things that we want, that all human beings want, we find that we aren't very different from each other internally in that way. We're very much the same, and we can understand each other's desires and fears. This happens with Safe School Ambassadors up in Sonoma County, where the kids that are leaders in each of their particular groups, so whether they're geeks or jocks, or they're in gangs, or they're the smart kids, whatever, or the cool kids, whatever they are, the teachers and the school notice who the leaders are, and they bring all those leaders together who are from, let's say they don't include the same circles of people. Let's just put it that way. What happens when they begin to discuss how they feel about their people, about their friends and their group, and what they worry about in relationship to their friends and their group, and what they're proud of or they care about, they hear that, well, what do you know? The jocks and the kids in the gangs and the smart kids, they all feel that way about their friends too. Wow. And they begin to realize that in spite of their differences in what they value, they are very similar inside themselves in what they want and hope for and look toward and want to cultivate. And they begin then to work together because they've actually heard each other and they've actually resonated to the same thing. Does this make sense, what I'm saying? James Baldwin, the author, wrote, "Love takes off masks that we fear we cannot live without and know we cannot live within." And Jane Monica Jones in The Billionaire Buddha says, "Ironically, when we own the shadow aspects of ourselves and put down our masks, this is when we become truly lovable." And you've all experienced it. When someone you care about takes a moment of time to be actually vulnerable with you. You want to listen to them, you want to support them, you want to help them and be present for them. It opens something in the listener, and the speaker discovers that they don't need to be afraid to be connected in that way. So when we feel welcome, loved, and safe, then we can dare. Because someone is on our side, we can take the risk. We can give it a shot even when we thought maybe we didn't want to or we were afraid to. So who or what is it that actually makes us safe or helps us to feel safe or perceive that level of safety? Well, part of it is the atmosphere that we're in, what we've learned about how the folks in our particular setting, in our particular role, how they think and feel and behave and what they say. At the same time, though, we don't want to underestimate them and decide for them in advance what they're going to think about something, and therefore monitor the way that we say it in order to evoke a certain response from them that isn't the one we're afraid of. Does this make sense? Does anybody out there ever do that? Or is it just me? Where I know this person has a particular opinion about something, and I want to express something in relationship to that without triggering that particular opinion. And I think ahead of time about all their objections so that I can frame what I want to say in such a way that I can try and not trigger any of those objections. Yeah? I see a few people nodding out there. So you can relate to this, yes? And I'm sometimes aware when somebody's doing that with me. When my son was in high school and he had a dog he wanted to bring home with him from scout camp in the summer. He was like a junior advisor at scout camp, and he had a puppy he wanted to bring home. He was in Idaho or Montana. I was in Southern California. Amanda and I lived in a 3-story townhouse. This was a German Shepherd puppy. But instead of saying, "Mom, I have this dog and this is what happened and I'd really like to bring her home," instead, when I got on the phone, he said to me, "Mom, by the time I come home in the fall for school, we need to move to a house with a yard." I said, "Luke, why don't you just tell me what it is you want?" Because I knew that wasn't it. And then I got the whole story about the dog. But I could see that he was moving toward the conversation in a way that he thought he might be able to open it so that I'd be more available to what he needed to say, right? So we learn how to do that kind of thing, particularly as kids when we're dealing with our parents. But it's not just other people's responses that make us safe. It's us. We're the ones that make us safe. I look at the way that Byron Katie coaches people through their fears, through their worries, through their blocks. And she sometimes will model for them how to have a difficult conversation with someone without being angry, defensive, manipulative, or trying to craft what we're saying in order to manage the other person's responses. And it works because she is so present regarding the other person with so much loving respect, even when she's giving them negative feedback or saying no about something they want, because she's neutral. She's not attached to how they respond, and she's not defensive about her position. So she's safe. And even if they get angry, when she stays in that position of respect and love and responds that way to them, neutrally, without defensiveness, they tend to calm down. So where is the safety starting? Not in the listener, but in her. Not because she's wanting to try and create it either, but because she's cultivated an inner life that allows her to be safe for the other person to feel what they feel and respond in the way that they do. And there's a tremendous gift in that. So we want to choose the particular mask that we're wearing carefully so that it adjusts to the situation appropriately. And then, within that context of playing the role that we're there for, to bring that non-defensiveness and non-attachment into the conversation. I'm not able to do that all the time, but in the moments when I can do that, it feels like magic. But it has to start from a place where I feel my fear and then choose this other thing. So it's not easy. I'm certainly not consistent with it, but I know that there's some magic in that. And so, Joseph Campbell said, to become, in Carl Jung's terms, individuated, to live as a released individual, one has to know how and when to put on and to put off the masks of one's various life roles. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. And when at home, do not keep on the mask of the role you play in the Senate chamber. But this, finally, is not easy, since some of the masks cut deep. They include judgment and moral values. They include one's pride, ambition, and achievement. They include one's infatuations. It is a common thing to be overly impressed by and attached to masks, either some mask of one's own or those of others. Somebody very wise once said to a group of teenagers, you know how you only act that way around your parents? Well, guess what? They only act that way around you because of the demands of the role, whether it's working well or not. So, our founder, Ernest Holmes, said, there is a light and life at the center of all things, and a consciousness that responds. I'm not getting my slides now. Hello? Nothing's happening now. Oh, there it is. Okay. So Ernest Holmes said, there is a light and life at the center of all things and a consciousness that responds. At the center of all things. So where that essence is, we're one. We don't have separate interests from each other at the root, because our interests that are in common with each other are very deep and real and are not the everyday concerns that we're worried about or living with. He says, this imprisoned splendor, to the eyes that perceive it, bursts like the glory of new dawn. We know that we are immortal beings, not because we're made a bargain with the infinite, but because we are made of eternal stuff. Humanity is divinity wearing a mask. So this beautiful image I see as the soul, the image of the soul. And when we begin to discover our authentic self, our inner self, the real being, that comes out of authenticity. When I was an acting student, one of the things we were taught to do in order to develop a character and play a role was to act as if. In other words, pretend you are that person. Now, if you are that person, what do they need? What do they want? What do they do to get what they want? How do they think? Because if you judge your character, if you decide your character is the villain or the bad guy or is evil, then when you play the character, you'll be indicating evil. And that's not what you want to do, because nobody thinks they're evil, not really. So they always have some motivation. You have to find that and behave as if it were yours. Well, in the same way, in all sorts of sports and in religions, we learn act as though I am, and I will be. Because when we begin to behave in the way that reflects the person we want to become, we begin to create that person inside ourselves. Or, more accurately, we begin to reveal to ourselves the person that is within us that we didn't know. We begin to discover that we are nicer, smarter, funnier, more caring, more authentic than we realized. But it isn't until we pretend to be it, in a sense, we put on that larger self to live up to it, that we actually start to realize that that's already in us and we're just filling out a part of us that was always there. There is a real power in discovering that authentic self in us. This story that I want to share with you comes from Alan Cohen's book, The Dragon Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Once upon a time, there was a cruel and hard-hearted king. He was so unpopular that he was continuously fending off rebellions and attempts on his life. One morning he awoke and realized how miserable he was. More than anything, he wished he could change. He called for his royal wizard and he asked him for help. The wizard pondered for a moment and then he told the king, "I can help you, but you must be prepared to carry out any instructions I give you. Anything that will restore peace to me," agreed the king. "Very well," said the wizard. "In 3 days, I will give you something that will help you." Now, it's interesting that he says 3 days. This is an aside, of course, because 3 is a cycle of completion. It's always an unfoldment, a beginning, an unfoldment, and landing either with a different perspective or in a completely new place. So after 3 days, he says, "I'll give you something to help you." So when the 3 days had elapsed, the wizard gave the king a very unusual object, a mask. The mask was almost an exact likeness of the face of the king himself, with one very important exception. Instead of the usual frowns and scowling lines, this image was smiling with smooth and pleasant features. "I can't wear that," the king complained. "It's not really my face, and besides, the people will not recognize me. They know I am not a happy man." "If you want me to help you, you must do as I say and wear the mask at all times," the wizard insisted. "Oh, very well, I will." The king began to wear the mask, and something amazing happened. The people began to enjoy looking at him and to feel more comfortable in his presence. They began to feel safe with the king and to trust him. And the king responded positively to his subjects' acceptance of him and began to treat them with respect and kindness. Gradually, the unrest in the kingdom diminished, and peace was restored within its borders. There remained, however, one place where there was not complete satisfaction: within the heart of the king. He was overjoyed with the changes within his kingdom, but as he had grown, he came to feel hypocritical, for he knew he was wearing a phony mask. He wrestled with his discomfort and summoned the wizard. "I'm very grateful for the changes that have taken place in my kingdom, but I can deceive my people no longer. I am a charlatan. Please give me permission to remove the mask." "As you wish, Your Majesty," replied the wizard. Painfully, the king stood in front of the mirror and slowly began to peel away this image that had transformed his life and his kingdom. It wasn't easy for him, but he knew that he had to do it. Summoning all the courage he could, then, he opened his eyes to look at his old scowling face. That face, however, was not the one he saw. What he did see was a beautiful, joyful visage, even more radiant than the one the mask had shown. Through his inner transformation, the king's face had actually become a portrait of joy and kindness. The mask given to him by the royal wizard had only been a temporary measure to draw out his real beauty. When we dare to be seen, we are revealing that splendor that is truly within us. And it's actually, oddly, within our vulnerability that comes forward, within our willingness to be seen, no matter what happens. And so as we discover our authentic self, something more begins to live through us all the time. It was always there. So, in The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes tells us this: talk, live, act, believe, and know that you are a center as this one. All the power there is, all the presence there is, all the love there is, all the peace there is, all the good there is, and the only God there is omnipresent. Consequently, the infinite is in and through us, and in and through everything. Act as though I am, and I will be. Dare to be seen. Namaste. Thank you. So let's take a moment now to ground this message in prayer as we turn within. Right where we sit and stand at this moment is the presence of God in disguise as each one of us. This room, the rain, the altar, our microphones and projectors are that presence in disguise. There is nothing but the presence, and all is well. We know this one is limitless love, and this is what we are made from. We are safe in this limitless love. And so we open our hearts a little more today to allow the authentic inner self that we are to shine, to light the way not only for us, but for those around us, just a little bit more, and to become more acutely aware of the light around us in others, with gratitude for this awareness, for this truth, and for this creative law that acts generously to bring it into being and experience. We are grateful, and we let this word go into that law now with anticipation of good and with gratitude. And together we claim this by saying, and so it is. All right, and I'm going to invite you to stand and join me in this morning's affirmation. Which you're going to repeat after me. I am free to show up as who I authentically am. Whoops. My experience and my perspective. Oh, wait. Back up. I'm going to give this first to you, and then you can. Let's see if that'll actually happen. Maybe not. No, we're way ahead now. Excuse me while I play. Okay. Moving on. Oh, never mind. Repeat after me. I am free to show up as who I authentically am. My experience and my perspective are valuable. I express what I believe and who I am without defensiveness. And who I am without defensiveness, knowing I am God's divine creation. And so it is. Thank you. Please be seated. All right, so this is our special offering time. And we invite you to participate in this by blessing the offering that you're giving this morning, or blessing all the offerings that are being given in the room right now. I want to invite the ushers to come forward. Yeah. And take the gift that you're giving this morning and hold it near your heart. If you already give and you give automatically and regularly, then just put your hand over your heart. If you're giving your gift with a loved one, hold it in your hands together. As we say this, repeat after me. This gift I give is God in action. Okay, all right. This gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time. And so it is. Well, you guys don't even need that slide. Go ahead. And if I can play her, I will. We do have music. We really do. Let's see here. There's that one. There's that one. Hey, we're in there. Here's Faith. All right, welcome, Faith. Oh, but now we have no sound. Well, just enjoy looking at her. She's lovely. Well, let her do that while the offering is happening. Meanwhile, let's see. Have I told you the joke about how difficult it is to sometimes remember what you've learned? You can turn that up anytime the music starts to come through. You don't have to worry about me. I'm just vamping until ready. So there's a story. I better get up here for the people that can't see anything. There's a story about a fellow who is walking down the street and he sees a sign for deluxe cruises, $100. Deluxe cruise, he thinks, I'd like to go on a deluxe cruise. So he goes into the travel agent and says, do you have those deluxe cruises for $100? Yes, we do, sir. Okay. What do I do? Give me $100. Okay, walk over here behind this curtain. He walks behind the curtain. Somebody pushes him. He goes down a huge chute, lands in a rowboat, and floats out to sea. Well, pretty soon another fellow comes into the travel agent and says, say, do you still have those deluxe cruises for $100? Yes, the travel agent says, give me your money and off you go. Same thing, shoves him down the chute, lands in a rowboat, floats off to sea. After a while, these two rowboats kind of drift near one another. And the first guy yells across to the second guy, do they serve meals on this deluxe cruise? And the second guy yells back, they didn't last year. Sometimes we take more time to learn than necessary. All right, so while Faith continues to sing, we do, on behalf of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, accept all of the offerings that come to us with such great gratitude and appreciation, sending them off into the world to create a willingness to see and be seen authentically. And so it is. Wow, this was a long one. Let's see if I can move on. Thank you, Faith. Okay. Now we'll see if I can get through the announcements. If you're a first-time guest, God bless you. It's usually a lot more organized than this, but technically, I don't know, rain, who knows? So back on the information table this morning, you're going to find a welcome packet. Please pick one of those up and also help yourself to anything else on the table back there you want to take with you. There's a blue card in the welcome packet. If you fill that out and turn it in back there, Amanda will give you a little book called Nourishing Thoughts, which is our thank you for being here with us, and also an invitation that we hope will entice you to come back and join us once again. And maybe everything will be working that day. We'd like that. Anyway, we're delighted that you're here with us and hope to see you often. And once again, I want to thank everybody that was involved in putting this morning together. So let's give everybody a big hand about that. And make sure you have an opportunity to enjoy this beautiful altar that Leslie created over here. The Women's Drumming Circle is happening this Wednesday at Unity in Marin. The chanting is led by Karen Drucker. The drumming is led by another gal whose name I didn't get up on the slide this time, but she's a professional drummer. And no one is turned away for lack of funds. They request a $20 love offering, but you can give anything or nothing. So ladies, bring your drum or go and borrow one or just go and soak in the vibes. That's this Wednesday night. We're back to our shoreline cleanup again. There's going to be one of those on next Saturday, March 18th, the day after St. Patrick's Day. And Susie Coity's here this morning, so she's going to come up and tell you a little bit about it. So you know who you're looking for your gloves, garbage bags, and lunch. Bring your own water.
Well, you can see how much fun we have, and I want to say it's a great way to start your Saturday. Come and get some exercise, clean up a spot. So I would really invite you to come one time, and I checked the weather. It's going to be clear next Saturday, and so hopefully you come. And so if you don't want to come, for whatever reason, maybe you could send your kids or your grandkids to invite them to come and help out. It's a great thing to do for our community, and it's a great thing to do for San Rafael, and it's a lot of fun and great exercise. So I hope you can join me next Saturday from 10 to 12, and we include some food.
And do talk to Susie if you have any questions about that after the service this morning. Also, the men of Golden Gate are invited to a pizza fest at the home of Steve Einhaus, outside at the fire pit. And that is going to be on the following Saturday, March 25th. So he says if you feel inclined, bring a poem or two. If you have any questions, please call him. His number's up there on the screen. Take a screenshot. We'll also have it in this week's email for you. Our annual membership meeting is coming up not next Sunday, but the Sunday after that. Everybody's welcome to attend. We're going to serve a little nosh for those that are staying. So we encourage you to be here. There will be some things to vote on at this particular meeting, and so only the members of record can actually vote, but everyone is welcome to be here. So we encourage you to come and be here for that. Also want to let you know that Wednesday night this coming week, the evening meditation is visioning. That's on Zoom at 7:15, and if you just go to our website to classes and events, under that tab you'll find the calendar, and just go to this date on the calendar, click the visioning, and it'll take you to the page that shows you what to click to get there on Zoom right away. Also, we are celebrating our 40th anniversary this year, particularly in the month of April. We are going to have Reverend Carol Huntley Sadler and Reverend Dr. Lloyd George Tupper, our founder of Golden Gate. They will be here that day. So if you have photos, send them to me, particularly if they're photos from, past decades. We're looking for photos of early congregants, early ministers here. If you know someone who's not going to be able to join us, give them this link and ask them to do a little short congratulatory video for us. Upload it to that link. Those guys will put it all together for us. So we're really looking forward to that on Easter, April 9th, and also the concert the Friday night before that. So if you want to get your concert tickets, they are now available. You can get them in one of two ways. Paula Yu is back at the back table waving, back here on this side. She has tickets available if you want to buy a physical ticket. They're $30 because it also includes the dessert, the champagne. It's all one thing, one price. However, if you're buying two, you get them for $50. So if you go up in increments of two, you keep that $5 off for each two. If you're buying an odd number, it's always going to include one $30 ticket, but you can get them from Paula, or on our website, if you go to the Donate tab, under there you're going to see concert tickets. Just click that and you can do it all online and pay for it with a credit card and whatnot. Then the confirmation email you get will be your ticket, okay? So that's going to be so much fun. I'm really looking forward to that. All right. So now I'd like to invite the practitioners to surround the room. Did I ask the practitioners to come forward earlier, or did I say ushers? Oh, thank God. Very good. All right. Please know that prayer requests are welcome, and we take them over the phone, we take them in the prayer box, we take them on the website under the resources tab. There's a place to do a prayer request, or you can come right over to this table after the service and ask one of the practitioners on duty at the table this morning for prayer, because that's what they're there for. That's their gift to you. All of the practitioners are wearing their white stoles this morning. Many of them take private clients. You would need to talk to them specifically to set a time, find out their fees, and so on. But let's go within right now and just breathe in the blessing of this kind of affirmative prayer. So, as we complete this wonderful morning, we do so with love and gratitude for everything that's taken place, knowing that within our souls, we have received, in our whole process of being here together this morning, something that will help nourish us throughout the week, that we can carry forward with us to live from. And we will be reminded of it when we need it most. So we open to that, knowing that what we need to know, we know. We're grateful, and we step into this week as a blessed week. With gratitude, we let this prayer go, we let it be, and together we say, and so it is. Yes. Please stand and join me for the benediction and the closing song. Hopefully the closing song. The benediction is, we say this together, I now walk so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God. And whoever places a hand in mine is lifted. And whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness. For spirit and all people and I are one eternally. And so it is. And this is called I Am a Light. Oh, and perhaps we're not going to hear her. Okay, well, in that case, let's sing the peace song, because we know the peace song. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our Father. Loved ones all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. You're good sports. Have a wonderful week. God bless you.